We're going to go ahead and create the Hawaii poster project, starting with creating a new file, File, New. I want you to select Web. It's going to be a web-based file because we'll be adding it to your portfolio online. On your options for your web size, go ahead and choose the first one, Web Most Common. Over here under the naming on preset details, call it Hawaii Poster. And let's put a 1 there. We're going to make sure the orientation is landscape, 72 pixels, RGB color mode. We're going to stay in that because we'll be editing this in Photoshop, and RGB is the best option for that. And we'll be putting it online in your portfolio online. Leave your background the same and go ahead and create it. Now I need to place the images I'll be using. I'm going to make sure I'm in the Move tool, select File, and Place Embedded. I'm going to navigate out to my OneDrive, Adobe folder projects, go to project 3, resources, and pick the 2 you want to use. Now I'm going to select this one for my background, so I'll go ahead and place it. Now you'll see it comes in with this X, it's ready to be placed. I'm going to grab it on the edges here. I'm holding down my Shift key on the keyboard. That's very important. Only grab it on the corners and drag from the corners to resize this image and place it. Do not grab from here or the sides, only from the corners. When you're done, select the check mark right there. So it will resize your image. Now I need to place the image of the girl that I want to use. So I'm going to select File and Place Embedded again. I'm going to go pick the girl that I want to use. So I think I'll try this hula girl right here. I like the way that looks. And I'll go ahead and place it. Now it's a little smaller than I want. So I'm going to move it into location right about there. Grab it from the corners only, hold down my Shift key, and resize my image. So I want her right about there, and check. I think I'll move over just a little bit so I've got my girl in. Now that I've done that, I've got my image in for the background right here and the girl right here. You'll notice this little icon in the corner in your layers. This means it's a smart object, which limits what kinds of things I can do when I'm editing. I want to be able to pretty much do anything I want, so I'm going to rasterize these layers. Select the layer, come to your drop down right here, click it, find the Rasterize Layer option, which is somewhere. Delete, collapse, boards, blending. Let's try a right click. Let's see if that brings it up. If I right click it, there it is, rasterize the layer. So I'm right clicking it and rasterizing. Go to this one, right click and rasterize the layer. So now you notice that little icon in the corner is no longer there. So we've rasterized it. We can do any kind of editing that we might want. So I'm going to actually duplicate this layer first. So I'm going to select it, hit the drop down menu, and duplicate the layer. I'm going to name this new duplicated layer Clipping, and select OK. So I've got the original and then I've got the clipping. Now I want to leave this here for the moment. I want to go ahead and take the hula girl and I'm going to get rid of this background here. So I'm going to select that layer. I'm going to come over here and get this magic wand. Hold your mouse down and select the magic wand. Now I want to click here because I'm going to start with a new selection and I'm going to click. Now it's picking up a lot of what I want, but not everything. So I'm going to add to the selection and click again. So I'm going to come through here and click on the areas that I want to add to this selection. Right here, need some more. I think I've almost got all the pieces I want. So I've picked maybe a little bit of blue right there. Little bit of blue right there. There, got it. So I've selected the area that I want to edit or manipulate. Up along the top, you're going to see a select and mask option. Click it. And that brings you into the select and mask window. Now if I scroll up to the top, you can kind of see what's going on here. I can look at these different options in my views. Depending on what you want to do, it's going to show you different things. I really want to come back to this onion skinning though, right here. I want to change some options down here, starting with click on invert. See this little button? Click it and invert it. Notice it's gotten rid of this background. Now I can feather it a little bit if I want. Okay. I can set up my contrast a little if I want to make it more detailed there. I can smooth it out some. So I'm making some adjustments here. But I'm setting up what I want it to look like when I finish this process. Slide this down. And I have to tell it how do I want to output it. I could decontaminate the colors. You can see a little bit of difference in there when you do that. Now I'm ready to output it. So I want to output it, hit this drop down, a new layer with the layer mask. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. Now I'm going to click OK. So when I look at it, here's the original layer, but here's the one that has the layer mask. This is this guy right here. So if I click on this layer mask, you notice I've got a little bit of leftover lines there that I want to get rid of. So I'm going to come over here and get this eraser tool. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to erase this sort of extra lines. I'm just going to erase those. Okay. When you're using this eraser tool though on a mask, make sure the foreground set to white and the background set to black so you can erase it. If you need to add something back, if you swap it and put the black on top and start erasing, it'll bring pieces of it back. I'm going to swap it back to white and I'm going to get rid of that again. So you can add pieces back when you're working with the mask. Make sure you're clicked on the mask and it's active. So now we've got our girl sitting here. I think I'm going to move her down just a little bit. I've got a little bit more residue up here. So go back to my mask, get my eraser, clean this up. Okay, it's looking pretty good. So I've got my girl into place, and now what I want to do is make a few changes here. I'm going to start by moving this guy up above. I'm going to leave it up here and I'm going to turn it off for the moment. Come back to my background layer here and I want to add some adjustments. So on my background layer I want to do a couple of different adjustments. One, I'm going to start with brightness and contrast. So there's this adjustment layer, brightness and contrast. I'm going to just set this up a little bit. Adjust it here. Okay. I also want to add a color balance. So I'm going to come here again. I'm going to come into here. I'm going to find my color balance. And I'm going to make my blues a little bit bluer here. There we go. So I'm just really increasing the blues that I have in this particular section. Okay. Now I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to add one more. I'm going to add a, find it here, solid color. I'm going to make it again a blue. Click OK. But I want to take that and set it down quite a bit. I'm going to bring it down quite a bit. So I'm really trying to get this sort of blue appearance in my background. Everybody good? All right, so we've done some different adjustments on this background layer. Now, I want to come up here and I want to do a couple of things with my girl. I'm going to make sure I select her. I'm going to set this opacity down a little bit. It's starting to fade out. I'm going to change my mode to multiply. Let's see right here. So she's sort of multiplying in. I might want to set that opacity back up some, but I do want to be able to see through to the image underneath. Now you can play around with these different options here. Maybe you don't like the multiply so much, you want to do a screen, or maybe you'd rather do a color burn. So you can play with these until you get one you want. I'm going to go back though to my multiply as my option, and I can see through it. I'm happy with that at the moment. So I've got that there. What I want to do now is I want to turn this back on, and I'm going to add some text. I'm going to go get my text layer. I'm going to click, and I'm going to type Aloha from Hawaii. All right, so I'll position that right about there. I can go ahead and if I want, remember in here you can change the font. You can choose a different font if you want. Find one that you like. It's totally up to you. I'll let you choose what font you want to use. Okay, so go ahead and find a font that you like though. I'm going to go with that one, I think. You can make some changes here and how big you want it to be. I have it at 72 right now and centered. All right, so I've got this set. I'm also going to do an edit and free transform. I'm going to make this bigger. Right about there. And check it. So I've got this larger now. Now that I've got the text in, I want to add a couple of effects. I'm going to select it, come to the FX, go to blending options. I want to go select this outer glow. So I've got the outer glow going. Make sure this blending mode is set to subtract. And I can come through here and decide how sharp I want that to be. Do I want to add a little bit of noise? I think I will. I'm going to go ahead and leave this with this black background and click OK. So now what I want to do is I'm going to take this and put it right above my text. I'm going to take it and clip it inside this text underneath. So select it, come up here to Layer, and create the clipping mask. Now it clips that image down inside the text. Cool, right? So we've got that going. So now I've got my poster from Hawaii. Save it, File, Save As. Make sure you're in Project 3. Make sure you save it as a Photoshop file first so you can edit it later. Click OK. Then select File again and save it again, but this time we're going to save it as a JPEG. Project 3, Hawaii Poster 1, and save. Select OK. So now we've got our poster designed. Now once you've gotten that done, I want you to take all of these guys, select them, hold down your Shift key, select all of your layers, and put them in a folder. Rename this folder Poster 1. Press Enter. Duplicate it. Drag it down here and make 2. Now you have 2 posters. Turn this one off. Open the one above. Rename it to Poster 2 and make some changes. So here we are. I'm going to make this bigger so you can see it. We've still got the original one down here, but I'm going to make some changes to this. I'm going to try turning some things off, seeing if I like that. I'm going to try taking this and doing an image adjustment and black and white and convert it to a black and white image with this in the front. So as you can see, I'm just playing around with the different options that I've created. In my text, maybe I'll come into my text and take off the outer glow, and maybe I'll put a shadow or drop shadow instead. So I'm going to reduce the opacity on that drop shadow. Okay, I'm going to reduce the distance. There we go. I can increase the size. I think I'll leave it right about there. The other thing I want to do is put a gradient overlay in. I kind of like what I'm seeing here. I'm going to click here, have the option to choose different gradient overlays if I want. That's kind of pretty. You can play around with that, but find a gradient overlay that you're pleased with, that works for you. You can see I'm just clicking through different ones. I can come in and change the settings in here if I want by playing around with this. I'm actually going to come back. I think I'm going to go with this one here. Click OK. There it is. I'm going to set the opacity down on that so you can kind of see through it again. And I think I'm going to add a stroke. Excuse that bell. So I'm going to add this stroke, and I've got my next poster. All right, I'm going to collapse it, select it. I want to save this one out. So File and Save As. Remember, we already did one poster. I'm going to save this as a JPEG. And this is going to be poster 2. And save it. And OK. So now I also want to save the Photoshop file. File Save. Now this time I'm saving the PSD file. If I go and look in my folder into Project 3, you'll see there's Hawaii Poster 1, there's Poster 2, and there's the original Photoshop file. So you can keep doing this. Let's take a look at that. We can keep doing this, creating different versions of this same poster, as you can see. I'll go ahead and close that. And that's how we're going to do it. Enjoy making your Hawaii posters. Choose the photos that you want. Once you get through the tutorial, be creative. Come up with your own ideas about how you would promote the state of Hawaii through the Aloha from Hawaii poster.